he's just completed a super stressful landing, something that he's never attempted before, and now they're like, "Hey, you want to go do some triage on all these dying babies?"
Want to do something else you've never done before? Well, I fucking hate you, Jane. I'm glad he goes to hell in one episode.
Hello and welcome to Talking to Tomatoes, the podcast where we dissect the fundamentalist children's media we grew up with, not only for its quality, but for the pernicious propaganda behind it. I am Eric Eberly.
And I'm not trying to do a slow. That's not funny.
Yeah, especially when you
I'm
don't finish the
Jubilee.
joke. Especially when you don't
Yeah, it
finish the
wasn't.
bit.
Don't worry. It wasn't funny. You didn't miss my.
Yeah, okay. Today we're continuing our look with our first two-parter in Adventures in Odyssey, the pilot, part 1 and 2. Which
I'm Jubilee Alexander.
Oh yeah, there we go. We're continuing our look at Adventures in Odyssey with the pilot parts 1 and 2, our first two-parter.
Two-parter.
Episodes 737 and 738, which I looked up at the very end to figure out where they are for reasons that we'll get to eventually. So this starts with a previously on, which made me go, oh dang, we should have gone back. Oh, also, as from the last video, we thought this was a different episode than it was. Jubilee was talking about, oh, well, there's this one where there was like a kid in like the imagination station. He was like a pilot of a
On a bomber, and I looked. I was like, it was called the pilot. Surely it was called the pilot. Apparently not.
Yeah, this is also a confusingly named episode because how many shows and whatnot, their first episode is literally called Pilot or The Pilot or something. So I was like, oh, this is why a two-part pilot? But yeah. So this is an odd one because it starts with this previously on that is way more serious than I kind of expected Odyssey to ever go to. Connie, one of the characters who we haven't really met Connie yet, have we?
I feel like she got referenced in something earlier, but
yeah,
again,
one of
I
the
don't have
episodes. But her mom has died, and she's like dealing with that.
like in her dead mom's house, like deciding what to do with her possessions, which yeah, seems really heavy for Adventures in Odyssey.
I mean, I suppose I don't know how if they just literally do a number. So is this literally 700 episodes, or is this the seventh season, or how exactly that works? But yeah, this comes out of nowhere with this, and then we're like introduced to this a character named Jeff who was her. Wait, is it her dad or her?
No, her boyfriend.
Her mom's
date?
the mom's boyfriend.
No, it's her boyfriend.
Was Connie's boyfriend?
Isn't it? Yeah,
Oh.
because she said that they dated, but then they didn't. Which I would love to hear those episodes. They dated, but then they broke up because he wasn't a Christian at the time.
Oh,
Which
right.
is like, again, these feel like much more mature episodes than we've been seeing in the past.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, so this character Jeff shows up and is like, "I'm so sorry this has happened to you. Can we talk?" Oh boy, I completely missed that. This is like recontextualizing and kind of making it weirder because I was looking at it through the lens of him as a father figure. First off, because he sounds quite a bit old. Yeah, this just completely changes.
Yeah, he sounds like a 38-year-old, and Connie sounds like she's 19 or something.
Yeah, so that makes it weird. I should pay better attention to these.
Well, that's why they later on she was kind of like being like, and like someone was asking about the romance part of the story because he hints that this story that he's about to tell is full of romance. And she's like, no, then nothing happened. And you went, like, I walked so and so back to her tent. And she's like, and nothing happened, right? Which is, again, just very.
Yeah. Okay, so that changes a lot of things.
Eric has to go rewrite his notes.
Okay, yeah. So just gotta rethink about all my notes. This is a boyfriend of of Connie's, not not a father or stepfather kind of figure. Which, because I mean, that was the thing that was like, oh, the ex boyfriend of the mom who knew Connie, or at least knew of Connie, was like, oh, your mom died. Like, even if we're not together anymore, we're nice people. I'm a nice person. You're important in my life. So let me just make sure you're okay.
Yeah.
But so they go and they're meeting up at Wit's End to just sort of talk about what's happening with Jeff's story. There's all of these references that, because so Connie is, processing the death of her mother, like dealing with that grief. It seems like it's happened kind of at least a little while ago, because like the wake has already happened. She's in her mom's house and is like trying to do stuff with the house, and it happens a couple times in these two episodes where there's some reference to like, I was looking at new ceiling fans, and the thought of changing that ceiling fan like made me break down, kind of a thing. And I'm just like, wow, this is like real like discussions about like grief and stuff. Like I almost
Just
feel
like
like,
just the unexpected ways in which it can come up. But
yeah.
I've been grinning for like 5 minutes because I'm just thinking of, remember that episode where that kid was walked into Wits End sharing all of his shitty jokes, and she's over there being like, and when I look at the ceiling fan, I just think about my mom and how she's not with me anymore. And
What's up,
he's
ladies
like,
and germs?
"What's up, ladies and and they're
Oh,
like, "Not now, Kevin."
Wit starts throwing napkin dispensers. This is
Dispensers, Jesus.
this is a serious episode. Part of the reason that Jeff is here is to like explain to Connie, which again makes more sense knowing that he was her boyfriend, about like what's happened in my life, because like he's a Christian now.
He
What
seems to
is
be back from somewhere, right? That's the vibe I was getting.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, because it sounds like the one thing that I again must have maybe just misunderstood was like, I thought that, okay, so what ends up happening is, so Jeff wants to become a commercial airline pilot, and so he's getting his pilot license and needs his hours of flying. That's like a thing. You need one of these other like super technical things where he's like talking about like how you're just like apropos of nothing. He's just like, and now we need 3,000 hours of flight, and my friend like recently had to move, so he had to sell his plane. And it's just like, Jeff, we get it. You lost.
I'm developing a conspiracy theory about this because I listened to a podcast I would very much recommend called Tribulation Farce, which is um it's the people behind Greetings Adventurers and Cast of Thrones. But they're reading through their Left Behind books. And the level, like, one of the main characters is a pilot, so like, well, it just kind of makes sense. The level of tech, and they comment on this all the time. They're like, "Oh my God, another they're within 5,000 feet of a plane. They're gonna give us some wildly technical information." So I'm like, I wonder what it is about this, like, this boomer media creators that were like obsessed with commercial flight. Like,
Oh, I was going to say about this weirdly specific detail. Is it a desire to show that they're smart? Almost maybe, where it's like, yeah, if we're just sitting here telling moral stories with Bible verses and stuff, people are gonna go, bah, that's like, what do they know? That's just goofy nonsense for kids. But then if they're like, he's like, we need 2,600 feet to land a plane of this size
the description later on, he describes a particular maneuver where he stalls his plane.
yeah,
And
exactly.
I was like, who is that for? This is
Who is
children's
that
media.
for? Who was in the getting the tour of the Odyssey studios and was like, hey, so and so, hey, you want to sit in with the writers and stuff? And they're like, oh, you're a pilot? We have questions. Like, let us put some.
Give us some good pilot shit.
Yeah, give us something we can say to say smart, which I always
Well,
think
when
would
they
be.
are so vague about other things too, it is just like the more like it being even more because we've criticized it before for being like wildly like there being a wildly convoluted like the way they recorded that guy's uh like that guy was talking to him and it was like he was working undercover for this thing and there was a reason and that just felt convoluted. This is like wildly technical when in so many instances it wasn't until the second episode that I even noticed that they mentioned that they were in Venezuela because they kept just saying the South American jungles. I'm like, yeah, the jungle in South America.
You know, that jungle that's down there. Um, but yeah, so Jeff is telling you know it's like half of more than half of this episode is flashbacks to Jeff's this experience that Jeff had, but he needs to get hours for his pilot license and has lost access to a plane, and he's 300 hours short. And it's again, it's just one of those what why I don't know. It's just it's so specific. It's like why 300 hours? It just like
Someone's grandkid was in flight school, you know it. That has to be what it is.
yeah, maybe that was it. But so Jeff needs to accumulate hours, and the way that he eventually is going to do this is somebody comes to him who I'm pretty sure the doctor's name was Dr. Willie Graham.
Who was also the doctor that treated his mom because it's revealed later that his mom got sick and died but right before
Oh,
this happened, but it was yeah no they were so specific. She was like,
well,
oh yeah, the
I
reason
guess
she
that
was
makes sense about how they found each other then, because it's like, oh, hey, so
because he wasn't looking for that work and she came over and was like, hey, you need hours.
yeah, so this doctor, again, pretty sure Dr. Willie Graham, and I was like, Billy? No, Willie? Oh, that's a little odd. But
William Graham.
Billiam Graham is like, hey, I do this medical mission, but we were actually talking beforehand. We're not actually sure that there was a like a missionary element to this, which kind of turns some of my vaguer criticisms about this on their head. That it was just a like a medical like I keep saying wanting to say medical mission, but like a medical task that they were going to these poor villages in Venezuela and providing medical care. And they needed a pilot because otherwise you're like it's like weeks of trudging through the forest or we go and we land on this super short runway. And so he's like, I don't know, that's not really my thing. I'm not really interested. She sort of starts to talk him into it with this super technical like apparently she has the inside scoop on what commercial airlines are looking for because she's like basically, hey, do you really think they're going to care that you went and were circling Odyssey International Airport, 2 runways in a little Cessna versus, hey, I flew to South America.
She seemed very very savvy on that information.
And this also gets to one thing. So the voice actor who plays Jeff has like the most like I don't even want to like chills makes it sound too cool, but he's just got like the most soft, genteel little voice. But then at the beginning, he's kind of like being a little bit of a jerk about it's sort of like the he doesn't want to waste his time doing this piddly little work. He's like he's going to become an airline pilot. But the fact that he's got this super soft voice, he refers to it as I want to fly big commercial planes, not Puddle Jumpers Incorporated. And it's like meant to be like a biting line, but he says it so calmly and everything. I'm
Which
like,
is weird because it is like such a practiced voice to have no change on in his intonation at any point. When we have like the people voice acting the little children are like herba derba 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 der and whether or not you like that, that is at least you kind of I mean it's you've got your one dimension. It's an audio
their
drama. Like
voices. There's a journey in
yeah.
their voices, and they do stuff. But he's just like, yeah, I don't really want to go to Puddle Jumpers Incorporated. And it was like, are you like,
Got him, Jeff. Got him, Jeff. Good job.
yeah, Jeff. But yeah, so she eventually convinces him. It's like let's just do one time. It doesn't have to be like a full-time thing. This will give. I mean, I don't know how long it takes to fly from wherever they're starting out to Venezuela. But I
Yeah.
mean, that's probably
Again,
28.
they like didn't like you have to go through multiple countries to get into a little plane that can land in the jungle. You have to do it some
Yeah,
international
they're
flights to get there from America.
he's not flying from Florida to Venezuela. He's flying. He's they're getting to
Exactly.
Venezuela somehow, and then taking a little tiny like 3-seater, or 3 or 4-seater plane to the where the village is.
Also, Latin America is 90% Christian. Why are they doing missionary work?
Oh right.
I looked up the statistics.
Oh, you did.
Yeah, I was like, it said 90%,
Yeah. Well,
like
which I guess
actively
does make.
religious. Why are you doing missionary work down there?
Well, I guess if it is strictly a medical mission, then maybe that is. But then they're also talking about like missionaries coming to these villages. Anyway, so then we're like flashing back to Connie in the store, and we get revisited by a character that I'm starting to love, named Wooten. So Wooten is apparently like outside of Wit's End, like keeping an eye on Connie. I forget who they say sent him, but he's like, you know, peeping on her, and so eventually he's like, all right, come in, Wooten, and they introduce him, and then Wooten's like, oh cool, oh cool, I love stories, but yeah, just the way he was like, I'm on a mission. Oh, story.
We got this insane voice, like this really dynamic voice actor, and Connie's good too. And I mean, I find Eugene very boring. He says like salutations and like he says agreeable to someone at one point, like
Oh,
to say
yeah.
like sounds good, and I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, I fucking hate Eugene. I'm glad he goes to hell in one episode.
Glad he goes. So Wooten comes in, and now they're like trying to land, and we have another spurt of hyper technical information as Jeff is like, I can't land on that. That is clearly too short. First off, I mean,
Why didn't you check ahead of time?
and then the mission, the Dr. Graham is like, no, you can totally make it. And so he's got all this. There's this so much conversation about like the length of the runway and like speed and stuff. The FAA requires a 2,600-foot long runway for a proper. I'm like, okay, cool. And then they managed to land, and so apparently this is a regular thing because the doctor has like recently lost their pilot the pilot retired or something. So she's been coming to this village over and over again, and so it's like every couple of weeks she shows up, and then everyone's like, all right, who's sick? Let's do triage. And so they set up in a in a hut that since the last time the villagers had built like as a field hospital.
They make a point to point out that it's a dirt floor, and he's like, "Golly gee willikers, a dirt floor."
I didn't think the jungles of Venezuela would be so jungle-like. So it's Francesca. There's an assistant. What's her name?
There's like another random person, Francesca, who's there.
Or is Francesca
Well, I'm sure
the person?
90% of her point is to be there to be the to be who we all think that Jeff is going to fall in love with.
I think so. Anyway, so they're all setting up to get like, oh, we're here. It's time to get to work, and then they send Jeff out to do triage, which is like literally a process of determining the severity and like, let's see the people who are actively dying versus this baby has a little bit of a cough or whatever. He specifically
He
does
doesn't
not speak Spanish.
It's also really not what triage means. Triage is when you are overwhelmed and cannot treat. I mean, like it kind of is and it kind of isn't. It's like none of these people have acute injuries or illnesses that are gonna need it. Like, and it's this is honestly probably nitpicking, but like, I guess if your doctor only comes in once every couple of weeks, you do. But I'm just like, but again, Jeff, who was already unsure, is trying to focus on flying the plane, is suddenly like, okay, like they just keep giving him more jobs to do, and it's like, all right.
He's just completed a super stressful landing, something that he's never attempted before, and now they're like, "Hey, you want to go do some triage on all these dying babies?"
Want to do something else you've never done before?
They start introducing people and some of the villagers, And then there's a little baby who is very sick, and they're like, oh, this is like, I mean, it gets kind of again a little graphic for like a kids show, because they're like, this baby is turning blue because they're not getting enough oxygen. Like, what's
Oh, what he says something really. Oh, what did he say? He said something really upsetting about that, where he was like, "Oh," he goes, "boy or girl, I can't tell the difference," and I was just like, "Fuck you!" Like, yeah, who cares? And then he goes, "Well, I no," because he says something to the effect of, "Oh, I guess it's a blue. You can tell a boy because you can tell by the shade of blue it's turning. Oh, they're probably not supposed to look like that." Yeah, Jeff, you fucking think the baby is not getting enough oxygen?
Jesus? Fuck you, Jeff.
That was upsetting. I was listening to that this morning. I was just like, I was upset. I had not had coffee yet. I'm like, I don't like this.
Yeah, there was so they start doing the triage on some of the people, and there's this particular there's this baby that's sick, and they're like, we don't know why. And of course, small, medical mission, you don't have access to like a lab or something, so they can't like, let's run some blood cultures or whatever. That's like, we just have to diagnose it. And
Let's look
then
around and see what's making it sick.
yeah, so they start looking around, and Jeff is sort of recruited to, oh, because the baby's mom is also looking a little bad. And initially they're like, well, yeah, she's got a really sick baby. Like, she's probably been hasn't slept in days. Has been like, every time the baby rolls over and coughs, like she's wide awake. So Jeff goes off and meets Alberto, the 10-year-old son of the mother of the sick baby, and is just kind of like trying to be fun and keep him distracted and stuff, as his little sister and or mother might be dying. Like, the next day, the mom is like way worse, and they like find her in the hut with like, they like describing it like blood coming out of her mouth and nose.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa, what the hell? And they're like, they find out that there's a warming hut for the babies, basically like a heated room. And they've been burning plants, and it turns out they've been
Which
burning
I
like,
was confused about. Like, I like, obviously not about babies. I don't have kids. I don't know what you do with kids.
I did find it a little condescending to imagine that this village like doesn't know what the plants that grow around them do, that someone's just going to throw a toxic flower like
We burn plants. Like, do you mean wood? What are you burning plants
why
for
are you
in a
burning
heater?
like specifically flower? There's some sort of flower, and the pollen is poisonous is like hard on the baby's system, and so they're like, well, we just but
And like the idea seems to be that like there were no other people in there because the people walk in and they're immediately like, "Hey, I'm getting woozy. Let's get out of here." Like there's clearly something, or someone then notices,
that's right.
that there's, oh wait, that's a dangerous plant. We shouldn't be breathing these fumes. But
everyone
like they
apparent
immediately feel the effects.
Everyone
I'm just
apparently
like,
holds their breath, runs in, leaves the babies, and then runs out and goes, "Cool, come back in a couple hours, babies. Enjoy
flip
the
the ba-
warmth."
flip the baby after
Flip the
4
baby
hours
over so they
the
heat
other
evenly.
side.
Anyway, so they sort of like solve that problem, but the symptoms of the mom are very very different. So they have to figure out what's wrong with her. And somebody mentions that there was another doctor that came through that gave, and Jeff finally puts together something that he was told earlier, that she had started taking medicine and then she got sick. And they finally put that together, and they know where the jungle. They call him the jungle doctor, which, and then Jeff has a really like. They refer to him as the jungle doctor, and I go, oh, is that, thinking to myself, I'm like, oh, is that like a local like medicine man or something? And Jeff is like, whoa, what's that? Some kind of voodoo something? And I'm like, whoa, calm down, calm the fuck down, Jeff.
I mean, I'm gonna say I will high key give the writers they probably didn't do this on purpose, but like the way I was sure it was gonna be a witch doctor and there was gonna be some evil medical practice, and it wasn't. It was just a doctor selling. Like they again got very specific on the,
It's
oh,
like
these are expire
it's black
medicine
market
that did
non
not.
FDA approved medicine that like can't be sold in the West, and so people buy it
And
in
its
Russia.
antidote is an antibiotic.
I wrote that down
Okay.
too. What the fuck?
What the fuck?
It turns into this like harrowing medical drama, which is very funny because the last one we had this like almost like political drama and stuff, and it's like it just making me wonder about the people who make the show. Are they like really wishing they were doing something else and stuff? And they're like, oh, every couple episodes I get one for me. I get to write my failed pilot for
It's a spec. We have a spec script for
Grey's
ER
Anatomy.
that
Yeah, yeah, my
turns
great.
out that this guy I met at a buffet didn't actually know the producers on ER, and he just sent it back to me unopened.
They're like, we have to go to this other village. It's like a 2 day walk or like a 30-minute plane trip. And now Jeff is like, is there a runway there? And they're like, we'll see.
Who knows?
And so that's the episode break right there. And I'm just like, oh, that's like a fairly effective. So then episode 2 opens where we have another like last time kind of a thing that kind of blends the previous episode and then the pilot part 1 together. And I actually have to I was a little annoyed, but I actually have to give them credit for sort of an effective way of doing a recap that didn't feel unnecessary, which is Eugene sees what's going on and joins the party and has to be caught up on what has happened. And so they briefly recap what has happened. And I was just like, this is listening to the 2 episodes back to back, I'm like, this is repetitive. But then like being like, oh yeah, because it's been a week since the episodes came out like a
And they
week
also
apart.
kind of make a joke about it because Wooten like says like 5 sentences, and he's like, "Did I leave anything out?" And they go, "No, actually, that was pretty good." He's like, "Oh,
good,
sick. All right, keep going."
good job, Wooten. They do something in this one. They did it in the first episode, but I don't remember exactly what it was about. But so Eugene comes up and he goes. Well, for starters, he comes up and gives Connie a tissue, which has been established that Wooten is like sitting there holding a box of tissues. So Jeff, Wooten, and Connie are sitting there. Connie's crying, and then Eugene has to be the one to walk up and go, "Here, let me give you a tissue, Connie." Like what the fuck are you guys doing? The thing that Eugene does is he says the ceiling fan fiasco. So it's blah blah blah. Ever since the ceiling fan, I've been worried about you ever since the ceiling fan fiasco, Connie. And I'm thinking that this is like the noodle incident kind of a thing where they're just going to be like, no, I'm fine, Eugene. Let's talk about this. But that's not what happens. Is then they go on and explain it, and I'm like, that's like as a trope, the whole point of the noodle incident is to reference something and let the imagination of the, I guess, listeners in this case fill it out. But they don't.
Hold
But they
on,
don't. They
hold
they
on,
spill it out.
hold
What?
on. I don't know what I just stumbled on over here,
What?
but I was trying to get ready to because a note I had earlier was Eugene brings up a scripture and says what it is. He's like, "Ugh, Corinthians, blah blah blah," and everyone's just like, "Okay, asshole! Like you're not gonna tell us why the verse is relevant or anything." I was gonna go look it up to have that ready, and weirdly, the Odyssey scoop where these free episodes come from doesn't have it doesn't list it on either of the 2 episodes. And then I saw on below that is a scoop cast review, and I was like, oh, I wonder what that maybe it'll be there. Also, what is the Scoopcast? It led me to this is also on the Odyssey. It's the Odyssey podcast's website, but in the little thing, there's learn more about the pilot. There's 3 tiny little links. Says learn about the album, like get the album, learn more about the pilot, and then there's a link that says visit Blimey Cow, and I was
Blimey
like,
cow?
what the fuck is Blimey Cow? And I clicked on it. And it's a bad Squarespace thing that's clearly, I think, the 2 guys who open they're probably the 2 guys that do the podcast, but it's like an amalgamation of all their things. And the link list is iconic. It's BlimeyCon 2026, a badass contact life, homeschool with us, message form. Message is spelled Messsyges form, other projects, podcast shows, submit a meme. It's a form where you do a name, an email address, and upload a meme. And then I clicked on a link called shows, and it says all of our old shows, and they're all YouTube embedded YouTube links. 2007 to 2008, The Adventures of Jesus, man. It's heresy. It's blasphemy. No, it's Jesus, man. And then it's
Oh my
2008
god.
to 2012. Everybody hates Batman. A parody of the Dark Knight trilogy. Batman trying to keep the streets safe, but is concerned with his box office number.
What?
Oh, healthy kid freak out. Family game night. This is my brother Jonah, the Blimey Cow podcast. What the fuck am I? What?
I feel
What?
like I am losing my mind listening to you
I feel
just
like you think you feel like you're losing your mind. I'm trying to submit a meme. Where do
submit
we find the meme?
what memes could they be? I guess it's minion pics or whatever for Adventures in
Whoa.
Odyssey. God, what the fuck is this podcast even about anymore? Submit a
I
meme.
don't know. Maybe some of the, if it's funny at all, you can leave this in here. I don't think I was
I
very
mean, I
much
think I
thought.
think I'm going to. This is
Okay.
funny.
I was like, hold on. Okay. Anyway,
Okay, what were we talking
it's
about? So we're back to
Jesus.
with this the whole we got the A and the B story. The A story is clearly Jeff and his mission trip, and the B story is about Connie and the grief, which kind of feels like I understand like as a person like this would be a story that you'd want to know about someone, but like as a narrative, how does this story follow? The only way that this story really has anything to do with Connie's like journey with grief and the death of her mother is that at the very end they're like, oh, maybe we can like Connie's like maybe I can help support the medical mission kind of stuff.
What they do at the very end, when they think the mother, they eventually find the medicine that the bad medicine that the mother took. They get her the antidote. But for a while, they literally have a phrase in there where they're like, "We'll give her epinephrine because to ease her suffering." And the guy goes, "What?" Jeff goes, "What do you mean?" They go, "She's dying, and I don't know what to do." And he goes out to comfort. Like the connection is so thin. Like I mean, it makes sense, but you obviously don't need this long of a story. It's a framing device, so I think it's fine. But the doctor who was this is when we find out that the doctor was Jeff's mom's doctor when she was dying and then died. She tells Jeff, "Go comfort, go comfort."
Alberto.
Alberto. I was like
Yeah.
Ricardo Alberto. Go comfort Alberto. You know what to say because you've gone through this. And that's why Jeff then says the reason I'm telling you this story, which again it's a decent framing device. It's kind of weird because it's like I think until you find that thread you'd be like, "Hey, what the fuck does this have to do with my mom?"
Hey Jeff, I hate to be that person, but can we focus on me a little bit? Oh, again, kind of a nitpick. There's possibly reasons for this, but Jeff has this whole. I don't know. I find it very weird the stuff that they decide to do, like in narration, and then the stuff that they like act out. Like they take off and they're going towards, and then Jeff, like back in present time in Odyssey, is talking about how Francesca could recognize the village from the air. I'm I'm like, wait, how does that work? You're not. You said like you've never been here. You're told
It
where
makes
it.
sense that you would take someone, but it's not because she can knows what the village looks like from the air.
Especially because
She
they were
just
like,
goes, "Yeah, you walk."
it's the next village down the river. They're like, just just follow the river. Like, you don't have to fly in a straight line. You can follow the river and go. And it was just very odd. Also, the thing that cued me on that this is obviously a later episode. What is in the present time? Mr. Whitaker shows up, and it is not the original voice actor. Like,
Deadass did not realize that was Whitaker until you said that. I thought he was someone else. Well, I think I kind of was like, this might be the new Whitaker voice actor.
yeah, no, he sounds very different. I don't know, it reminds me of C Lab 2020 when the guy who plays Captain Murphy dies, and
Oh yeah.
they limped on for like a season or so with
before
all
they
of
were
these
like, yeah, let's just
excuses.
kill this character.
He's wearing like a diving bell helmet that like muffles his voice, so you can't. He just doesn't. I mean, it's kind of the same issue here. The guy just doesn't have the gravitas. Like the guy, the person who voices Whitaker has a deep, like warm, very fatherly, grandfatherly sort of voice, and this guy just doesn't have it. What happens is one of the things that the way they end up saving the mother is they find out what the medicine is because part of Jeff helping Alberto, it like kind of being a distract, like before they're like she's dying, Jeff, is he like shows them how to like make musical instruments, make maracas and castanets and things. One
It's
point,
Chekhovian arts and crafts.
yeah. He goes out and Alberto like throws down his castanets or something, and Jeff is like, "What was that sound?" And he like opens it up, and it's like the pills that apparently his mom took, started to get sick, and then threw them away. And Alberto was like, "Oh, let's like these are not pebbles, but they're like small hard things that make a different sound. Let's put them in their medicine." And now that they know what the medicine is, because they visited the jungle doctor and were like, "There's thousands of different medicines here. We have no idea what she took." They now know what it is, and they're like, "Oh, that the treatment is simple. Let's get on this. Let's get on the satellite phone." And they, as we already mentioned, the treatment is an antibiotic, which about the only thing I could possibly say would be like if it's we're not told what the other medicine does, so we don't like.
It's just a weird instance of them being very technically. They didn't need to say something like that. I mean, I guess they needed a reason for them to have a random antidote on hand, but it's like it's so easy to look up. Like it feels like really easy because we both were like, "What the hell does that like?"
What do you mean?
That
And
makes literally no chemical sense. Like, why would
like literally my Wikipedia knowledge of like you know your microbiome is like maybe it's something that kills viruses or funguses or something, and she's dying because like the bacteria is out of control and the antibiotics will like return the equilibrium. But that's obviously giving even more thought to this episode than the writers did. So then they're like, "Yay!" and everyone's better. And Jeff is like, "Well, next time." And she's like, "Oh, Jeff, are you actually gonna do this?" And he's like, "Yeah. This feels like
he
something I
decides to
want
do
to
it
do."
full time? Then there's a long sequence where they're like, "What if we raise money for organizations?" And they're like, "That's a great idea." What is one of again? I didn't realize it was Whitaker, but Whitaker's like, "You're skilled at communications." I yelled at my phone. I was like, "Who the hell talks like this? Or you have a gift for communicating or something?" I was like, "Cool." Like who says that?
Yeah, I mean, especially in this context, it's like it's not it's not like an idea that needs some sort of translation into something that like you don't think regular people, if you just went out to people and were like, "Hey, there are villages in Venezuela that don't have access to regular doctors. We need money to fund our flights and to buy supplies and stuff so we can do this more frequently and help those people out." It's not like people are going to be like, "I don't understand what you're saying, what you mean."
Yeah, like what's the confusion here of what do people need? People need to know that these or that organizations exist, I guess, but like the point of them is not. It was very strange.
I did also like at the very end. So there's the whole Wooten keeps coming back to. He's like, "Well, where's the? Oh, I bet you I know who it is. You're gonna fall in love with Francesca. You're gonna fall in love with Alberto's mom. Fall in love with Doctor Graham, or whatever." And then he goes, "I fell in love with missionary work." And Wooten goes,
Biggest jerk off moment that's happened in the few terrible episodes. I genuinely liked this episode. Like a double medical mystery. There was some interesting stuff. I got a little technical, but not too. It made some not the worst choices at several instances, and then literally that happened. I was just like it could be like it was so set up, and like I mean I guess we're mad that they subverted our expectations, but it was just like. Who the fuck would call that a romance?
Well, yeah. I mean, literally, Eugene says, literarily speaking, that is not a romance. That is like finding your call or calling or something. And then Wooten goes, bait and switch. And I was like, thank you, Wooten.
Thank you, Wooten.
Turns out Wooten is
He
actually
does. He
the.
also did a Wooten had another very good joke where he goes, where he goes, that's like, what do you think we can do to help? And Wooten goes goes, he keeps saying we, and I don't think he's speaking French. I'm like, all right, Wooten, all right,
That
Wooten,
a
that
joke
kind of
so
ain't.
good they made it twice.
Yeah, they
Eugene
did.
repeat
They did go and make that joke again.
Eugene repeated the joke louder so more people could hear it.
Wooten's like, I'm gonna fucking kill you, Eugene.
Eugene, as soon as Connie's done grieving for her mom, she's gonna be grieving for you.
Whitaker doesn't
Um,
allow us to spill blood in here, which is crazy because it's all tile. I don't know why I assume that that's true.
so yeah, that this was the pilots part 1 and 2. Yeah, honestly not the worst. Not the worst. Yeah, like you said, the double medical mystery was actually like dragged it out a little bit, but I was like, oh, that's interesting because the mom and the baby are sick, but they have two different things wrong with them. And then it's like, oh, we're actually making us think that the mom might die. And yeah, at one point, I was like, okay, there's been no romantic development. I'm wondering if like the mom's gonna die and he's gonna like adopt Alberto or something.
See, that would have been, I mean, that would have been horrific for other reasons, but like, that would have been cute. Like, this is my son, this is my adopted son, Alberto.
Did you say you looked up the verse?
No, because that insane tangent I went down was me trying to find the verse. I didn't write down what it was, so.
Like I said again, not the worst episode ever. They make a vague reference to something that I had actually wanted to do because this is something that has come up was when there is a Bible verse, actually like read the context of it to see if like how out of context it's being pulled. Because especially this one, they reference Second Corinthians, which is a whole book, and I'm like I'm not going to read this whole thing. Something about looking beyond yourself, which again, just with that, like I don't want to be too critical because I don't know what the actual like verse is. But if you're like a story about someone grieving for the mom, and you're like you need to look beyond yourself, it's like yeah, get over it already. And
Either she's is looking by on herself, that's why she's sad about her mom not being there, or she's too focused on
her own
I don't know, like
grief.
I guess the other people are looking beyond themselves to help her. I did that doesn't make a ton of sense to me, but again.
Yeah. I don't want to be overly critical of something that I don't know I don't know what they're talking about. So, but yeah, in the future when if they actually give us a verse, I want to read the context to see what's going on. We're gonna keep trying to figure out where that episode about the kid. Cause I want to get back to the imagination station next time. That
Yeah,
would be.
that technology is very interesting.
I think that's it for this one. Follow us on the various socials, even though we haven't put anything up on anything other than the YouTube right now.
Yeah, we're on YouTube. You can find me on TikTok at Titan of Joy.
And I am on TikTok as Eric.Eberly. Talk to you later, tomatoes.
And I'm Chris. Rest in peace, Dr. Preston. Shit. Fuck. Rest in peace, Dr. Wilson. Not Dr. Wilson, Dr. Dobson. This is a great take. Definitely leave this
Yeah,
in.
we're leaving this in. No, this is all staying in. Don't redo it.
Fantastic. Fantastic.